My mic wasn't on. Hey guys, if you don't know me, my name is Alex. Now you know me. So today I'm going to be showing you how I apply like super glam highlighting and contouring tricks to natural everyday makeup. I understand that it can be really, really difficult once you learn how to like contour your nose a certain way or your jaw line a certain way or your cheekbones a certain way. It can be really hard to not like go in every single time. It's a lot easier than it seems, I promise. I'm gonna be showing you how I do it. So let's just get right into it. So natural makeup, you guys, if you're gonna be out, you're gonna be running errands, you wanna look like fresh and awake and whatever the fuck, sun care, okay? First thing is first, I use the Glossier Invisible Shield Daily Sunscreen. This is SPF 35. I use way more than you're supposed to, I think. But I just like want to be, I don't want to be wrinkly when I'm old. I'm already wrinkly enough. Don't forget your ears. I have an under eye situation happening right now over here. You probably can see it. I don't want to talk about it. Talked about it in another video. We'll talk about it soon. All right, so when I do like super natural looking makeup, I don't like to go like really, really hard on coverage. I want it to be just kind of more like tone evening, you know? And then I've got a situation happening over here, situation over here, got a few situations, but I would prefer to spot conceal. It depends on the state of my under eyes or how much time I have or my confidence level that day. I don't always color correct. I am gonna do just a teeny little bit of color correcting. I'm actually gonna be using a color corrector that I haven't talked about yet, but you guys really wanted me to try. This is the LA Girl Pro Conceal High Definition Concealer, and this is in the shade, what? That makes no sense. What? I don't know what's going on. This is the peach corrector apparently, right? Peach corrector. And this says light ivory, but when I look at this looks like straight up like orange, like an orange corrector, but it's called light ivory. That makes no sense, whatever. That's what I've been using. I don't know if it's labeled wrong or what. All right, so I'm gonna squeeze a little bit of that out. I hate the squeezing ones, they're awful. And then I'm gonna put a little bit right here. If you do not have dark circles, you don't need to do this. I like to focus it right there so that I don't like end up taking it all over the place, you know? And then I'm just going to basically blend this in the area where I have any darkness. And then, I think I put a little bit too much product down, so I always keep a paper towel around. Definitely way too much on this side so that I can wipe my brush off. Because the whole point of this look is a light hand, less is more. I do want a little bit of coverage here, so I'm just basically like pressing this into my skin. This under eye is gonna look super dry. The skin on there is just dry. Ignore it. It's a situation, like I said, we'll talk about it another time. Okay, so now it really depends on like whatever foundation I feel like using. I've been using the new Makeup Forever Reboot foundations. I've also been using the Pat McGrath foundation. I've been using the Lorac foundation. I love this as well. It really just kind of depends. Today, I'm actually going to revisit an old fave just because it's been a while since I've used it. This is the Natasha Denona Foundation X Plus. Don't shake the bottle from the cap. Sometimes I use a brush, sometimes I use a sponge. It really depends on like how much coverage I want. Today I'm gonna use a sponge. And I basically just put like a tiny bit there and I'm gonna apply a really light amount all over my face because I want to like even and color correct so that it all looks like seamless, but I'm also going to be using just teeny amounts and kind of like building that up. So I'm focusing on like major areas of my face. So I'm starting like here and then I'm going to start up on my forehead and then I'm kind of going to like bring everything together. Also, typically when I do these looks, I'm like, I don't know, running errands, or I'm gonna be going out and I don't wanna set my nose. I wanna use like a really tiny amount of product on my nose because I'm gonna be wearing sunglasses. And if I like wear a bunch of product on my nose, like once you put sunglasses on, it just removes all the product or it like creates those little like depressions in it and it's super obvious. So I usually like start on the outer perimeter of my face and then I'll move everything inward. So there's hardly any product on my sponge when I go around my nose and I'll like really work it in too. All right, so now I'm going to do a little bit of highlighting, basically just like concealer in areas where like I want to conceal my under eye circles and I need like a decent amount of concealer for that. But once you put concealer down here and you have a very light coverage of foundation around the rest of the face, this area might look a little strange if you don't put a teeny bit of that product somewhere else on your face. So what I like to do is use that product that I use underneath my eyes, just in like really small amounts around my face so that it looks a little bit more cohesive, but it's still like not a ton of product. I need something dewy today. So because I have this ridiculous dry under eye patch going on, I'm going to be using the It Cosmetics Bye Bye Under Eye because I'm also not going to be setting my under eye because I want it to be able to move with me throughout the day. So I'm going to be using the shade 10. This is Light Fair. What I like to do so that I'm not using like way too much product, but I want to make sure that I'm getting the coverage, is I will use a little brush to apply it in the other areas of my face first. And then once the sponge has a little bit of product on it, I'll go in with that underneath my eyes. I don't know if that makes sense, but we're gonna, that's what we're gonna do. So give me 1 second. I'm gonna take a little tiny bit of this. It is very thick, it's very full coverage. So I use a teeny little bit. And then the areas that I like to highlight typically are like right here. I like to take a teeny little bit down my nose typically. I like to go right in here. I'm using a super tiny amount. Then I'm going to use my LC Cosmetics Velvet Sponge to tap that out, blend it in. Why do I have so much dry skin on my forehead? My skin has been such a bitch lately. Okay, so those are the areas that I like to highlight. You can tell it's like such a tiny amount. You basically can't even see the product, but once everything is done, you'll see a difference. So then what I like to do, honestly, is rather than using a brush to put this product down, because sometimes that can swipe away my color corrector, I'll just put a tiny bit of the product on the sponge, maybe like that much, and I'll just start going in with the sponge over top of that color corrector. And if you're trying to like maintain coverage, I like to use kind of like a slow press, and I'll keep it kind of low. And what I'm not going to take it anywhere near my nose, basically. I'm going to keep it like a little bit wider out here. So the only place around the nose that I like to do is like around the nostril because I get redness there. And then I'll drag it and then I'll pat it up here. So whatever is left over, I'm obviously not putting any additional product on the sponge, but I'm just kind of like slowly blending it into my cheeks so that it has a seamless finish and it doesn't look like we just placed a bunch of product down underneath our eyes. And sometimes if I feel like there's a harsh line over here or just like a harsh amount of product, I'll kind of like drag it up my nose and then I'll flip my sponge around to the clean area and kind of like lightly tap. I have mentioned this in one of my other videos, but the reason that I like the It Cosmetics Bye Bye Under Eye is because it is super full coverage, but it also is super hydrating and it's flexible. So if you're not going to set it, it moves well with you throughout the day. If you do happen to get like a little bit of creasing, you can just kind of like keep a sponge or a tiny brush with you, or even just use your finger and pat it out. Now, I like to do all of my highlighting and my contouring before I go in with any like spot concealing because I want basically my whole face to be the color that it's gonna be. And then I can kind of like customize my concealer color to match each spot. If I go in and conceal everything right now, but then I go in with a contour color or a bronzer color or blush or whatever, I just end up kind of like removing coverage. So it doesn't really make any sense to do that. So for my contour, I'm going to be using the Vanity Makeup Sculpt and Glow palette. This is in the shade Fair. I've been loving these recently. They are very pigmented though. These have like a lot of payoff, so you only need a teeny little bit. Basically, you want to go super duper light, just like we did with our concealer. Like you can see that my face pretty much looks like it's one shade almost, but I promise you at the end. So I'm gonna be using my little brush that I use to contour my nose and my lips. I don't know, it's from that Morphe collection. You can just basically get like a little shader brush, would be fine. And I'm gonna pick up the tiniest amount. The way I contour my nose, if you haven't seen my nose contour video, I'll pop it somewhere up here, but I always do my tip. So I'm gonna place like that tiny amount right there, right? I'm using such a light hand. I'm gonna do the same thing with the sides. Just drawing a tiny little line. Basically right now I'm just like mapping out how I like the shape. And we practically have no other product on our nose. So now I'm taking my brush and wiping it off on a paper towel. So it's basically clean enough. And then I'm going to just buff that color. So I'm trying not to move my brush around too much. Like I'm keeping it pretty centralized to where I put it, but I want to really blend it in. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the lines. So it's basically the same thing that I do when I contour my nose. Really buffing it out. And then what I'll do is take my sponge and just pat. Okay, so obviously It's super duper light. And if you don't need this, you don't even need to do it because you're doing natural makeup, so who cares? But if you've gotten to the point where you're like, oh, but if I put this color in my cheekbone, I feel like I need it kind of like all over my face to make it feel cohesive, then you can go ahead and do that. Then I'll basically do the exact same thing with my lips. I'll use, because I've just kind of gotten used to that, use a tiny little bit, and I just really buff it out. So I use a tiny amount of product, and then I'm being a little bit more harsh with my skin than I usually would be, because the more you buff it out, the less you actually see that product, and the shadow is actually gonna look like way more natural. And when I say I'm using a tiny amount, I mean I literally go like this. And that's it. That's all you need, because these are very pigmented. And then obviously, you know, you can use your judgment and build it up if you feel like you need to. Then I basically do the same thing for my jawline and my cheekbones. So again, I'll use a tiny little amount, focus it just under here. But that's the only place that I'll put it, basically, like right in here, right where the shadow is. I'm not gonna like wrap it up around. I'm just gonna keep it really, really low, really, really blend it. And then for my cheekbones, I do a similar thing where I just pop it like right in here. Sometimes I don't even contour my cheekbones. When it's like a very natural look, I'll just do a little bit of bronzer, but super tiny amount. And then if you feel like you've gone in with like, I don't know, if you just feel like that's a little too much, just take your sponge that you used to apply your foundation or your brush or whatever you used and just blend really lightly over that. So that gives us just like a teeny bit of definition, but you can't really like tell that I really have anything there. Now, a lot of the time when I'm doing like very natural looking makeup, I won't even use a bronzer because like, I don't know, sometimes I feel like it's very, very obvious. But if you do want to use a bronzer, I prefer using a cream one. I like the KKW Beauty Medium Contour Stick for that, because it's just a warmer color. I've done this in a lot of my videos, so you might already know this, but I'll just pick up a teeny little bit and then kind of just like buff it. Again, because we want a natural coverage, I don't really mind if I'm like removing a little bit of the foundation coverage, because I kind of just want this to go like over my skin. I want this to look like skin, you know? And then if I do bronze after contour, I literally will use like that much just to add a little bit of warmth. Again, usually I only use bronzer for this, or I just like won't use any contour, but this is really just to kind of like warm up that area. Before I do any kind of blush, I am going to do my spot concealing. You can use just like a regular old concealer. You can use a color wheel. Sometimes I use Ben Nye Cover All Wheel. Today I'm going to be using, I think just the Pat McGrath, I almost said mascara, because I really don't have that much on me right now. So I think I'm just gonna do a little bit of spot concealing with this. It's very close to my natural skin tone. This is in the shade L3. All right, and then for that, I like to use like a tiny little brush. This one's flat, so when you turn it like that, but it's kind of like fluffy. It's a little bit like frayed, I guess. This is the E20 by ColourPop. What I'll do is pick up a little bit of the product on the brush, and then in the areas where I need more coverage, I'll just place it down and then kind of use my finger to pat it. This is the same deal, basically, just like small amounts, because it's gonna look super obvious if you have like all these breakouts and you put this really, really, really heavy coverage concealer, but the rest of your foundation or the rest of your makeup is very natural, you know? So we're just kind of trying to like minimize those areas. You know what? I'm actually gonna take a little bit of that concealer and just pop it like right here, because I feel like I need a little bit more coverage there. Basically, I use so many different concealers when I'm like just wearing them on their own and not setting them. So it kind of just depends on your skin type. I have a bunch of videos about concealers, so you might want to check them out if you're not like sure exactly what would be best for you. And again, I'm just focusing it right in this area where like I really need that coverage. I don't want to take it near my nose, so that if I want to wear sunglasses, I can, and I don't have to worry about it like pulling off all of this product. And if you feel like for whatever reason, when you use a sponge, you always end up applying way too much product, you might want to try applying these products with brushes instead. Because I feel like no matter what, anytime I use a brush, I always end up with a more natural looking finish. Another trick that I like is to take my contour color into like the crease of my eye, underneath my eyes, if I feel like I really need that. I have a lot of pigment here, so I don't necessarily need that for like a natural look. But if I feel like doing it, or if you feel like you need a little bit more definition, the only thing is I'm not wild about this contour shade for my eyes, so I am going to pick up light medium from KKW Beauty, and I'm gonna use this little brush. I think this is a Morphe M517. So I'm gonna pick up a tiny bit of that and just run this right in here because I like to kind of, gives my eye a little bit more of a lift. It kind of makes it look like this is eyeshadow, you know, but it just kind of like enhances my natural veiny color. Kind of makes my under eye circles look like a smoky eye. Brush is way too thick. Why am I using it down here? Removing coverage. That was stupid. Why am I doing this? All right, so now I'm going to apply a blush. I like to use a cream blush. I just think it's super flattering. You can use any cream blush that you want. I feel like they're all pretty much created equally. I don't know. I'm not super picky about it. I just really love this one. It's high end, so like, again, you don't need to use it. ColourPop actually has pretty similar ones. This is the Beach Stick by Charlotte Tilbury, and this is in the color Moon Beach. And it's just like a really flattering, pretty color. The reason that I want to use a cream is because I haven't set my face. So if I go in with a powder, it can kind of like tug and pull on the I was gonna say wetness, the moisture, whatever. Anyway, creams. It's just very natural. So I'm gonna use my Morphe M405. Again, I like to do this kind of thing. I like to focus it right here. Just a little bit of a natural flush. So I'm basically applying this to like the high point of my cheekbone. I just think it's the most flattering for my face. All right, for my brows, I just brushed them up with a little bit of soap, and then I'm gonna do a little bit of natural filling with the Anastasia Beverly Hills Dip Brow in Taupe. And I'm using the Kylie Jenner brow angled pencil thing. I do have a video on this, which is either up or it'll be up, so I'll pop it somewhere if it's up. All right, guys, now this is a trick that I do for a lot, like, all right, for lips, this is a trick that I do when I have like a very, very smoky eye going on, and I'm just like, oh, if I go overboard on my lip, I'll look insane. So my favorite natural lip liner is Lime Crime Taupist. Such a beautiful nude. It's like this really cool toned, just like a cool toned nude. For me, it's just the perfect like color that I can use to overline my lips without it looking insane. So what I'll do is I'll overline my lips, but then I'll blend it out. Let me just show you. So I start there, and I'll kind of just follow the natural like line, and I'll really draw it out. This one is a little thinner. Same thing with the bottom. This part comes down a little bit more than this side. So I like to kind of even that out. So once I have it drawn out, I'll just pat all around the edges. Then I'll go in and do a little bit of cleanup if I need to. Like, oh, I want to redefine this area just a little bit on these sides, maybe a tiny contour right there. And then all I do is pop in a little bit of lip balm. I'm using the Tatcha one, but I don't really like it that much, just so you know. And I like to focus it like on the inner part of my lip so that it's like hydrated, but it doesn't remove my liner. All right, now depending on like, I don't know, whatever I'm doing that day, I will apply a little bit of a highlight just to add like a little bit of dew. But obviously you can tell that like my temples are out of control. So I wanna stay the fuck away from them. My favorite natural looking dewy highlight is another Charlotte Tilbury product. I know they're not cheap. This is the Hollywood Flawless Filter in Fair. However, there is also, where is it? The Glossier Quartz. It's like a highlighting balm stick combo. Super cute. And then there's this dewy stick from Ciate. Ciate, is that how you say it? Which is also really pretty, but it has no color. It's basically just like a balm right there. Actually, let me swatch these for you. So this right here, I don't know how you guys can see this. I might have to bring the exposure down a little bit. This one here is the Charlotte Tilbury one, which is fantastic. You can see there's like a really beautiful sheen to it. It's really stunning. It's also like perfect for if you're wearing like glam makeup. I love that one. The Glossier one is right here in the middle. It's a little bit more, when I turn it like that, you can see it's a little bit more on the sheer side. Like I said, it's a combination of shimmer and a balm. So that's really fantastic for every day. And then this is the Ciate one, which is, I don't know how well you can tell, super dewy. So if you're dry and you're looking for like a balm highlight, that's a beautiful one if you like this shade. But there is no pigment in it. It is basically just a gloss. So I'm gonna show you the Charlotte Tilbury one and the Glossier one, just cause I think the best way to do this is to apply it with your finger. So I'll put a little bit of the Charlotte Tilbury one on my ring finger. And then I'm just gonna focus it literally right here on the top of my cheekbone. And then if I feel like I put a little too much, I'll switch fingers, pat it out. And I'm not trying to bring it all the way around because I'm not trying to be like so like glam. I don't need this like crazy intense highlight. I just want to add like a little bit of youth to this area. Sometimes I'll take a little bit right above the corner of my brow if I don't have any breakouts up there. And then occasionally I'll take a little bit like right there on my chin, but that can make you look sweaty if you're very dewy. And then I also kind of like to take a little bit like under my brow bone, you know? And then sometimes, I don't really do it. I was gonna say that sometimes I do it on like the tip of my nose, but it just makes my skin look super dewy and like healthy, you know? It's not that big a difference, but I like it. And then I'll do the same thing with the Glossier one. I'll just pick it up with my ring finger. And it's got, did I show this to you? It's got like the shimmer around the outer part, and then in the center it's got a clear balm. This is a really beautiful like champagne kind of shade. This is a little bit more sticky though. I'll just dab it in the same area. And then sometimes, if I'm feeling frisky, I will use a little brush and I'll apply it to my inner corner. Right in there. Just a little like peekaboo. Hey. Me personally, when I do this makeup look, I don't really like to wear mascara. I don't know why. I kind of feel like it closes my eyes. I honestly don't know why, but I will say that if you're looking for a really good everyday mascara and you are someone like me who has very straight eyelashes that don't hold a curl, the best bet is, well, a waterproof mascara. Listen, I've tried so many freaking drugstore waterproof mascaras. None of them compare to Lancome Monsieur Big waterproof. This is the fucking bomb. I'm gonna do it for you guys, even though I don't want to. So I'm gonna give my lashes a quick curl, and I like to apply the mascara right after I curl them so that optimal curl, whatever. And I like to focus the curl on the outer part of the eye. So I'll kind of like pulse it and pull it through the lash so that we're getting like a nice curl. The second time I like to do it a little bit softer. And then I like to go in with like a super light amount. So I'll hardly like touch my eyelashes. I'll go super, super light, and I like to focus the majority of the mascara on the outer part of my lashes. And then I won't even do my lower lashes because I don't know why, but that definitely brings my eyes down. But see the difference there? That looks so pretty, doesn't it? So that's the most that I would do with my mascara, just so that I don't look like an actual dad, so that I look like I'm a little bit of a woman. Because I know I'm always rocking my dad sweaters and my dad sneakers and my dad hair and my dad look. And like I know I'm basically your dad, but like I don't necessarily always want to look like your dad. Pull a little bit more toward the end. Now this is what I call natural makeup. Now, it might seem like this took a really long time, and that's only because I'm taking you through all of the steps. I like to do all of the steps that I have learned throughout my life, but I like to tailor them for the level of makeup that I feel like wearing. Now, sometimes I will step this up a level, where I'll go in with each step a teeny bit more, so that it looks a little, maybe slightly less no makeup and more like natural makeup. And then natural glam makeup, and then we'll go like hard, you know what I mean? So it's really up to you. And then sometimes I won't even do like mascara or my lips or whatever. I'll just go in with like a really light amount of foundation. I'll do maybe a little bit of blush, some spot concealing and brows, and then a little bit of concealer under my eyes, just so that I feel like I don't look dead. You know what I mean? So basically that's it. All right guys, I hope this video helped. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you learned that like contouring doesn't necessarily mean that like you're gonna be cut all the time. You know what I mean? You can give yourself a little bit of a natural like, oh, I can like go out and run errands, or oh, I can go to work and like look refreshed and awake, but not look like a hooker. Yay. All right, guys, if you are interested in learning more about makeup, my theories, color, techniques, all the things, subscribe, like, whatever, comment, doesn't matter. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the next one, hopefully. Hopefully. Who knows, honestly. My eyebrows look baller.